Hello. Hello, Internet. Hello, Fedora. I hope this is all working. Let me go peek at Matrix and see. Drop some love in the chat if this is all. Oh, I can hear echo now, so it is working. So all right, cool. Well, welcome folks to the Fedora Linux 42 release party. Oh gosh, I still have echo. Oh no, I'm hearing my voice 3 times. Okay, that fixed it. A little bit of the AV debugging. And here's Matthew.
Good morning, everyone.
All right, folks. I was going to see if we can hide the presentation just for a minute. I don't seem to see it. Yeah, there we go. That's better. Well, folks, welcome to the Fedora Linux 42 release party. Officially, we had, was this our first like on time or like early release in like some time that we had?
No, we've been doing great.
But there's lots of cool things that we've had happen during this release cycle, both on the Fedora Linux side, as well as several things in the community. And you'll be hearing both sessions from members of the community, live and pre-recorded sessions about various updates and things that have happened and are going on in the Fedora community over this last release, and some things that are coming around the corner. Like there'll be a topic about the 4Geo stuff that many of you have probably been hearing about. But I think with that, we can go ahead and officially kick off. So now we can bring the opening remarks on up. And I'll try. Yeah, that works. Oops. All right. So I actually do not have the slide. Oh, no, I do. Okay, I can control it. We're learning new tools today. So welcome to the party. I think that's everything I just said. We'll do some quick intros of the hosts. Matthew, you want to do a quick outro? I don't know.
Outro. Yeah, wow. Hi, I'm Matthew. I am and have been for the last almost 11 years the Fedora Project leader. And this is the 21st Fedora Linux release that I've been the Fedora Project leader for, which is, half of them. That's exciting. And after all that time, we have a new person here, although not new to Fedora. It is Jef Spaleta. If you have not met him before, this is a great opportunity to. Hi, Jef. We'll be. This is my second to last official duty as Fedora project leader, because I will open things up at Flock next week. But after that, it's all on Jef, and I can get some sleep. That'll do. Let's go on to the next person.
Well, yeah, I actually have a longer introduction in a couple of minutes, but yeah, I'm Jef. I have been around in the distant past of Fedora as a contributor and as a board member before it was retooled as the council. So I am super excited to be back not just to Fedora, but also to the East Coast, because I spent several years in Alaska and I just moved back to Virginia. So yeah, I am super excited to be here, and I'm looking forward to going to Flock in a week and meeting some of the contributors in person and seeing all the discussions about what's going on.
Over.
I don't want to oversell it. I have a whole 15 minutes to fill.
And a session at Flock too. So we'll be sick of hearing about you, Jef. Hi, everyone. I'm Aoife Maloney. I'm the Fedora Operations Architect. I've taken down 2 on-time releases so far. I think Fedora 40 might have been a little bit late, but it's like I wasn't at the wheel at that for the full of that yet. And looking forward to taking down many, many more with all of you folks. Yeah, bio says it all, but feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or you ever want to chat sometime. And finally, I'll pass it over to you, Justin.
Hi, folks. My name is Justin. I'm the Fedora community architect, so you'll see me a lot around several of the events that we do, including Flock, which is just around the corner next week in Prague. But I've been in the community for about a decade, and I've been at Red Hat in this role for going on almost 3 years. So you've probably seen me around in some of the community channels. So what do we have to say to folks? What do we have to say? I guess I can probably do these ones really quick. Fedora does have a code of conduct. You can find it here in our documentation or scan the QR code. As a reminder, this applies both to in-person and virtual spaces. So make sure you're familiar with that as far as interacting with the event. This is something that's really important for us in the community. The thing that many of you have probably been waiting for, even though it says 40 here, it's actually 42. The link is pinned in the matrix room. So I don't know if this QR code was updated. If
Yep,
it was.
Okay. Yep. QR codes should be.
Code is valid.
They should be. They should be. But this will be the rock I'll die on. I'm sure the chat will tell me when the ones are wrong.
The open source effect. So if you have not claimed your badge,
that invitation has expired. It says.
Oh, it's the older one. Okay, there is a valid. See, like you try. But live demos. There is a valid link pinned in the Fedora Linux 42 matrix room. So go there.
Excellent. And if it's your first time, we have badges in the Fedora community. And this is a fun way that you can get badges for doing different kinds of contributions in the project, in the community. Additionally, you can also find the full schedule for today for the next couple of hours, and the topics you're going to be hearing about. All the information, including the schedule, is on the Fedora wiki. Also, special thanks to all the folks who have supported us in pulling off this event today. Lots of different folks. Actually, I can see I have 2 names on here. But all these folks are really important. Like, this is really a community effort, and we would not be able to do this without all the folks who pitch in, from running the matrix integration and building the bot that helps us pull this all together, to doing all the opening remarks slides and working with speakers and building the schedule. Big thanks. And the badge, all the design aspects, all the pretty aspects too. Big thanks to all these folks who have helped pull off the event. And schedule again. And also for our chat moderators, for various folks who are hanging out in the chat. These are also folks that you can ping in the matrix chat if you need some help during the release party, if someone's on stage and, like me, we might not be looking at matrix all the time. So these are also some other folks who can help out if you need help.
Justin, just a word for one of our moderators, because I didn't have time to update this slide, and I do apologize, but a special shout out to Emma. They have been playing a blinder, as we say, in all of the moderations lately in Matrix. So a massive thank you to them. Matrix has been a hell of a lot better because of their efforts. So sincerest thank you, and apologies for not finishing off the slide.
Yeah, big +1 for Emma there. And of course, all of our amazing speakers who you'll be hearing from throughout the afternoon or morning or evening, depending on your time zone. So a few announcements, and I'll go ahead and pass it over to the rest of our team here for some of these. Aoife, this one feels like you.
Oh, sure does. We're nearing the end of our election cycle, so if you haven't voted, you still have time. They will close on Monday, the 2nd of June, 23:59 UTC, whatever time that is in your time zone. I think it's about 1 a.m. here in Ireland. But don't wait until then. Please vote now if you haven't already done so. There is a badge available for that one too. And there's lots of amazing candidates to choose from. I don't know how you're actually going to make your choices, but sincerest thank you to all the candidates for running this year. We have full election boards in Council, Mindshare, Apple, and Fesco. So good luck to everybody. Thank you all for participating, and please get your voting in by Monday.
I guess I can cover this one. Flock to Fedora, our annual contributor conference, is next week. So if you're not familiar with Flock, Flock is the annual event that we pull off, and it's where we do all things Fedora contributor community. There is a full schedule, and we will be live streaming day 1 and day 2. So even if you can't come on down to Prague, you can also tune in and catch the sessions and some of the things on the first 2 days. And if you are going in person, make sure you register and scan this QR code and register so we can make sure we get you stuff like your name badge, maybe a T-shirt, and things like this too.
And
Well,
most importantly, the best swag ever that we've ever made, which is the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy reference Fedora Linux 42 towel. It's so great.
But to get it, you have to register. If you don't register, you don't get it. So make sure you register before the end of this week. Also, on the same vein of Flock, we're looking for on-site volunteers. Quick thing here, we have room for people who are session chairs, helping run a room, do timekeeping, helping get speakers set up with the equipment, as well as AV help, sitting behind the camera, making sure the speaker's in the frame, this kind of stuff. So if you want to help out with any of those kind of things, scan this QR code and fill out the form. Jeff, you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. So because we're having a council Ask Me Anything session at Flock, I posted into the Fedora discourse an opportunity to ask questions and then upvote questions in true AMA style. This way we can get questions ahead of time, and that way we can actually have thoughtful answers to questions. And if there's something sort of out of scope for council, having it in discourse will help the other leadership potentially find those questions and answer them there too. So that way, if you have any questions about what's going on in terms of decision making in Fedora or other things that are on your mind, hopefully we can find the right leaders to answer those questions. So just go to the discourse and either put in a question or upvote the questions you like.
This one I think is going to be a coming soon. So
we're working on it.
So at Flock next week, we are going to kick off the Fedora contributor survey. This is our annual survey that we run for the last few years and is kind of like our community census. So keep an eye out for that. Even if you're not going to be there for the kickoff at Flock, we'll definitely be sharing this around in the community over the next month. So keep an eye out for this.
It is actually a user and contributor survey. A lot of the questions are contributor focused, but we want people who are don't consider themselves currently Fedora contributors to also take the survey. The last couple times we had about 50-50 on that, but I would love to have more feedback from everywhere for this survey.
Greg says he's just finished it, so we'll probably have it coming out very soon.
We have someone who understands data science working on it this year, so that's amazing.
So I know we've got our next speaker coming up, so I'm going to try to rush through these last few announcements. Always a shout out to one of our favorite swag vendor partners, Hello Tux, who is also the same company that has produced the amazing Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy towels for us. But they also have a bunch of other stuff with the Fedora logo, and you get a special discount if you use the code Fedora5 at checkout.
If you can't be at Flock but need one of the towels, this is you can get the one from them too.
Yes. So with that, I think we're going to be ready to start with our lineup of content for the morning after. I have to stop saying time of day because it doesn't mean anything in this context. Everyone's everywhere. But thank you all for being here and being a part of this event. And let's go ahead and kick off the party. And actually, I think this is going to be a segue straight to Jeff, who's our first session on the schedule. So
yeah, I'm a gentle introduction to me. I'm going to control the stage a bit, get everyone else off. Hey, everybody. I have 15 minutes to sort of introduce you all to me. Like I said, during the opening remarks, I didn't want to talk too long because I have 15 minutes right now. So I'm going to give you 15 minutes, basically a recap of my life since I started as a Fedora contributor, assuming the technology continues to work and lets me share my screen. So YOLO. So hi, I'm the Jef PL, and this basically all started back when I was in New Jersey as a graduate student, and I was there working on or using Red Hat Linux before any of the Fedora stuff started. I actually was a contributor to the Fedora US repo. So if you remember it, then you are also an old person like me. It was an add-on repo that actually added packages to the Red Hat Linux so that people could actually do useful things. In fact, I actually was a user of Ximian first, if anyone remembers that. But then I moved over and started contributing to Fedora US because they were doing much more large variety of packaging work, which I was interested in because I was actually trying to do some science. I was actually an experimental plasma physicist working on fusion energy as a student, and I spent a lot of time modernizing all of the Unix-based systems and started having them use Linux, and more importantly, the data collection and analysis sets or a toolkit. So became Python-based because I was sure as hell not going to spend a career writing IDL scripts when something open source was available that was way better. So that's where it all started. And once Fedora US got merged into what is now the Fedora Project, I picked up some minor packaging work. I ended up being a board member eventually. But one of the more interesting things I did, I actually played a bit with some of the project metrics, especially around, release downloads, all the things that we had access to sort of see how the project was growing in terms of adoption. And so I think it was the Fedora 7 and 8 releases. I actually worked with Mike McGrath, who was on the infrastructure team at that point, and was able to cobble together these what I think are great time lapses about how all the unique IPs in the release week around Fedora 8 sort of spread across the globe. It was and got sort of a density. This was before hyperscalers and the cloud data center. So unique IPs were probably more value metric, but it was an interesting piece of kit that basically built on what I was already doing for some of the science work I was doing at this point in Alaska. So other people, you might know me. I might have gotten involved in some larger ecosystem discussions around licensing. Outside of Fedora itself, during that time, there was a lot of discussion about things like copyright assignment, which I put a pretty strong flag in the ground about. So if you were on the other side of those discussions with me, I apologize. It was an interesting time, and I'm sure there are other discussions that I will probably stick my nose into going forward about the larger ecosystem health around open source because it's important. And that's just a quote from Jono. It's a long story. I won't get into it now, but it's a great blog post that he wrote in 2011, and that's a quote from it. So that was Jersey. That's where I got started, and then I moved to Alaska in 2006, and things basically I ended up following up from fusion energy, and I actually studied the ionosphere for several years because the ionosphere is also a plasma, and I got to study the aurora. That's actually a picture from the deck of my house. So the previous slide was my house, and this is a picture that I took at night. And almost every night I could see the aurora from my house, which is sort of a cool thing. As long as it was dark, which is like 9 months out of the year, I could basically see the aurora every night. So I put this up. I never was a rocket scientist, but I did know people who used the rocket facilities at UAF and actually studied the aurora by shooting rockets through the aurora to watch the winds. But I was completely radar based system. So during that time in Alaska, I still found a way to make open source relevant. I was studying the Aurora using radar-based systems, and that's actually a picture of one of the radars we built in Alaska while I was there as part of the Super Darn radar network. But again, as part of that, I made sure we were modernizing the tool set so that we were building a Python-based toolkit. And more importantly, like at this point, I was a postdoc and not a student, and I wanted to make sure I left some sort of the tooling around that the students in these projects could pick up and contribute to, and more importantly, build some skills around, because the reality is only about 10% of graduate students end up staying in research. They end up getting jobs in private sector, and having a set of tools or a set of skills that are marketable is sort of important. So I wanted to make sure I left a legacy that was an open source collaborative community around the students who were working in this multi institutional collaboration. It's actually, the SuperDarn is a worldwide collaboration. There are universities in almost, I think there's like 20 countries now that operate the radars independently, but share the data to make a global view of the moving ionosphere, which is pretty cool. So that's how I made sure open source was still something I got to work on, even though it wasn't primarily focused on Fedora anymore. And during that time in Alaska, I spent a huge amount of time curling. I mean, this probably became my identity more than anything else. 18 years, so many years in Alaska. And what else you're going to do in the winter, right? I was either going to cross country ski, which I found out very quickly I do not have the legs for, or inside curling, with the benefit of having a bar very close to the playing surface, which is always a fun thing. If curling club, it's not a curling club unless there's a bar attached to it. So I won't go too deep into curling. I promised people I would not do a 5-minute segment of how to learn to curl, but I could. I'll save that for an actual Flock lightning talk or something. So I was active in Fedora until about 2012, right? Even though I was in Alaska, I was still keeping up. I was actually a board member after I'd been to Alaska. I did the metric data stuff. So after I was working on the radars and doing global maps anyway, so I was able to use that skill set to sort of look at the geolocated unique IPs. But when I say I was in Alaska, I actually meant I spent a huge amount of time in Antarctica for about 6 years. That's a picture of me standing very close to the geographic South Pole, flying a kite in front of the radar we built. So I was realistically probably the most southern Fedora user ever to have existed, because I was using Fedora in a radar shack about 100 yards away from the geographic South Pole. And I know that we were the closest building to the pole at that point. The pole moves, which is interesting. But so yeah, I spent six years. I went down every summer, or every Antarctic summer, to McMurdo for about 5 weeks, and then I did 2 years. The last 2 years of that, I spent 2 trips at South Pole for like another 3 weeks at a jump. So that's a lot of time effectively off the grid. In fact, I spent so much time off the grid building radars in those 5 or 6 years. Like, I legitimately couldn't keep up with collaborating at all with Fedora with a 6-month release cycle. So I had to sort of step away. And it was a sad thing, but I had to do it because it was just not fair to continue to say I was contributing when I really didn't have the time. And when I say off the grid, I really mean off the grid. Like Antarctica, they say they had internet, but it wasn't. It was a lie. And I went to places like Kodiak, Alaska, or out at the end of the island, or Adak, Alaska, which is what I consider tropical Alaska, in that it's in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, but definitely not. And it rains. It's just not warm. So my travel agent did me a solid when I said I want to go somewhere tropical in the Pacific, and they sent me to ADAC. So the internet was non-existent for good chunks of my career for 5 years there. So that was sort of the end of my Fedora contribution run. And that takes us to sort of the next part of my journey as a IT person. After I left academia, I spent 2 years working for my cousin for a startup called Vert. And it was a very interesting ride. It was, I told him I actually made prototypes for him while I was an academic, and he tried to hire me, and I told him he needs to hire an actual engineer first, because I'm a physicist who makes very terrible prototypes and not something you can go to market with. But after some time, I agreed to join the company, and I said I'd give you 2 years and see where we are. And so I don't remember much. It was a crazy 2-year run. That's a picture of me asleep at I believe it was at the Women's Volleyball Nationals. We were setting up our data collection stuff on the sidelines. So I spent there's a couple of times I was in an ESPN broadcast truck managing the data feed so they can put it as part of their story or the bug system, the graphical system. There was a couple of years where I was doing all-nighters building demos so we could, for our booth at CES. It was crazy. It's still an ongoing concern. It got picked up by women's volleyball as a wearable technology, primarily for injury prevention. Is I think the market fit that sort of landed with them. So, in fact, I think my cousin literally is in Europe this week doing the rounds with the volleyball teams who are customers of the product, and checking in with them. So it was a fun 2 years, but it was not the right fit for me because it was definitely an entirely proprietary situation, and I really missed doing open source work. I did full stack stuff. It was, iOS client all the way to the back end. I learned a lot, but including the wearable hardware stuff. But it didn't have a way to build like a read write active contributor community around it. So I was it just wasn't the right fit. So I said I would do 2 years, and then I found an opportunity to get back into open source. So from 2017 to 2022, I worked for Sensu as a developer advocate, and this was a fantastic job for me. This was actually the first time I was paid primarily to work with an open source community, not something that I found a way to do, but something it was part of the gig. It was the point. And so that was a pretty good run. I really liked the work there. It had a great sort of practitioner community around the plugin structure, sort of the sysadmins of the world. Before the platform engineering that people talk about now, we were still talking about sysadmins, people who were looking for something better than Nagios as a monitoring solution. So we actually, I believe, since it was one of the first companies who had a integration with Ansible Galaxy when that was produced. So that was interesting. So I was able to go around and be part of the community, and really interact and still build some things in a collaborative way with the practitioners in the space. And then we got acquired, and then things change, and I found a need to move on. So, and then after that, another opportunity to be an advocate in a technology space I'm really, really excited about. This is really interesting. Well, I learned about eBPF when I was at Sensu because people were trying to use eBPF for monitoring and observability that's the key word, observability, right? Stop being monitoring, and they changed the word. But it was absolutely super interesting to me. I actually think eBPF is going to be the future of tons of stuff, not just networking or even security stuff that's people are playing around with using eBPF to do like storage drivers efficiently for single app for application specific storage for it's fascinating. It's basically turning the kernel and the Linux kernel into sort of a microkernel, and you're able to interact with these eBPF programs through user space from the application layer, and it's I really wanted to be involved, and I'm really excited that I got a chance to do it with Isovalent, because even when I was at Cinzia, I was trying to make it relevant to the practitioners or to the stuff we were building. It was just the wrong client model. I couldn't make it work. And with Isovalent and Cilium specifically, I was able to work in that space, learn about it, and advocate for the technology. And also, I actually got a taste of the CNCF community, which up until this point I sort of been just on the outside of. And now since Cilium was a CNCF project, I got to experience that from the inside, which is, I think, helpful in terms of my career. And I think that brings us up to sort of now, and I'm sort of right at time. So book 6, this is the title is a shout out to Game of Thrones fans. The Winds of Virginia. It's the unwritten book. I just showed up in May, and yes, that is my license plate now on my car. And I'm really excited to be back in Fedora, and I'm looking forward to seeing what is happening at Flock. And I'm still sort of in a fire hose of information now, but I'm coming up to speed, and hopefully I'll have some good discussions with people over the next couple of weeks, and it'll be great. So, and I think that's it. If someone wants to take over from me now, that would be fantastic.
Awesome. Thanks, Jef, for running us through the history and giving us the backstory there. I noticed you've got some of the streaming riz here too. Like you've got that nice like presenter style there.
We did a lot. We did a lot of streams when I was at Sensu. Like that was a good gig. Like it wasn't marketing, right? It was definitely advocacy, but we had a strong community component there. So we were using discourse for discussion, and we had a lot of webinar stuff. When we picked up the Isovalent had that.
Hey, everyone.
They had a great webinar series. So I'm out.
Sorry. This is what I was talking with Aoife. I was like, I was going to try to queue this up, but I didn't want to like do that in the middle because I figured it would do just that. It would interrupt you. So thanks, Jef. We'll have lots of more time to chat with you both at Flock for folks who are going to be in Prague next week, and of course throughout the Fedora online spaces as well. So next up, we have a longtime Fedoran, Jeremy Klein, who's going to talk a little bit about this really big announcement that some of you might have heard about with Windows Subsystem for Linux now having an official Fedora image. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Jeremy for his talk. And I don't know if if he's in the chat. If he is, he can answer any questions that might come up during the recording. So here we go.
Everyone, my name is Aoife Maloney, and you know me as the Fedora Operations Architect. I'm joined by Jeremy Klein, the owner of the Fedora WSL change that landed in F42. And Jeremy is going to talk you through a little bit more about the change for those of you who are as excited as we were to see it land in Fedora Linux 42. Jeremy, take it away.
Thank you very much. Okay. Hi, folks. I'm happy to be here. And today I'm going to cover the Fedora WSL change that was part of Fedora 42. So first, a little bit about myself. I've been involved in Fedora for about a decade, I guess now, mostly working on Fedora's infrastructure and tools. Adding support for Windows Subsystem for Linux was one of my side projects, I guess, during the Fedora 42 cycle. And yeah, so with that, with that out of the way, what are WSL images? It's perhaps best to start with what is WSL, if you're not familiar. There are two flavors of Windows Subsystem for Linux, which is what WSL stands for. WSL1, which was a little bit like Wine backwards, I believe, where it attempted to translate Linux interfaces to Windows. This, as you can imagine, is pretty tricky to get right, and maybe not all the interfaces got implemented. So it didn't always support every application within the Linux image or the WSL image. And currently we don't support WSL1 with the Fedora images, primarily because they don't like extended attributes, and we don't strip those out of the tarball. And then the other version of WSL is WSL2, and it is a Linux virtual machine that runs inside Windows, and Windows manages it for you. You don't have to like manually start it or do anything. It just kind of happens in the background for you. And it includes integrations with the host Windows environment, like a shared file system, access to Windows executables from within the Linux environment, a Wayland and X11 socket for graphical application support, and a Pulse audio socket so you can have audio and things like that. So if you are not super familiar with Windows, I imagine most people here are using Fedora. You can kind of think of WSL like the toolbox utility, if you've used that, where you can have several different Linux distributions, immutable containers, and that's how people tend to use it on Windows. So in the slide, I've got a little picture of the shell, basically, in Windows. There's not a lot of exciting demos because it's supposed to just work like Fedora. So that is WSL. And I know probably some people are asking why are we spending time on this? WSL is a Windows feature, so I think that's a reasonable question to ask. What is Fedora getting out of spending time on this? Well, for various reasons. Some people do use Windows. It might be because work mandates it. I've never worked anywhere that does that, but I understand it's very common. It might be because it has accessibility features that they need and aren't available elsewhere. It could just be that that's where they're most comfortable doing their work and they're happy using it. Whatever the reason, a lot of these people also really want to use Linux. And I think offering Fedora to them as one of the options is great. So after we had a release, I went and cherry picked some examples of why I think this was worth doing. Hindsight's 2020, of course. But so here's one example I saw on the Fedora tag on the Fediverse. This person had the opportunity to try out Fedora and really liked it. So much so that they're considering putting it on their laptop if they get one. Now, I think they would have been very happy with Debian. It's a great distribution, but I think Fedora has a lot to offer, and being an easy option along with, Debian and Ubuntu and Arch is great for people who are currently on Windows. Here's another example. I got a bug report where a developer found a behavior regression in the fish shell compared to Debian in the Fedora image. If you've read many Python enhancement proposals, you may recognize the reporter's name. Brett is a core Python developer, and providing an easy-to-use Fedora environment for someone like that is great because their work on Python is definitely used inside Fedora, and being able to test and work inside Fedora makes sure that things are working well for us as well. There are a lot of open source developers who happen to use Windows but write software that works on Linux. So giving an environment for them is great. Okay, so that's what WSL is. That's why I think it was worth spending time on this. What exactly was the work involved? The reality is that it was a lot of work, but I did not do most of it. The first big change that made this pretty easy was that the WSL team added support for a new image format, and that format is just a plain old tarball. WSL will look inside a tarball for a configuration file in the Etsy directory, and that provides defaults like default distribution name, where to find an icon file for it, and an execution or an executable to run on first installation, basically. So it's called the out-of-the-box experience script, or OOBE. Fortunately, the tool we use to build images, Kiwi, is happy to create tarballs. And so all we needed to do was provide a list of packages we wanted to be in our WSL image. We added a new package to Fedora, WSL-setup, and that contains the out-of-the-box experience script, some systemd temp files configurations to wire up the host integrations, like putting the sockets in the right place. And then it also contains the WSL configuration files. The last big change we had to do was add an image to the logo package for WSL, which sadly doesn't support SVG or pings or things like that. It wanted an ICO. After we had an image that we could test, a community member, Patrick Lang, set up a test day and did a great job running it. A lot of community members tested out the image, found some issues, provided feedback on the first time setup experience, and we were able to either fix and improve some of those issues before the release. The last little bit of work was to make it official, which was to simply add it to a JSON list in a GitHub repository. That's what the WSL command line interface in Windows queries when users ask to list the available distributions. So you can go there right now and say WSL list online, and Fedora 42 will show up. This is currently a manual process, and we'll do it once per release. We could automate it if we forget to do it or it becomes tedious, but right now it's just a manual process. So what's next? We have a working image. Feedback so far has mostly been that it works well, but there's always room for polish. So we're going to be working with the folks who are focused on CentOS Stream and even RHEL to incorporate our changes and to tweak our experience to be a little bit better. So, I think you can expect to see CentOS Stream become available. Fingers crossed. Don't want to make any promises, but there's also been some work on Kiwi, the image builder tool from our friends at SUSE. It now knows about the WSL tarball format. We'll do some checks to make sure it's valid, and then we'll also make sure it uses the WSL file suffix. And when it does that, Windows will let you just click to install. So just some little polish around the edges. Finally, I think we all know this, but I want to make it clear that Fedora is a group effort, and this change wouldn't have happened if there weren't a bunch of people working hard on it. So I want to thank everybody involved, particularly all you fine folks who have taken it for a spin. And with that, that's all I got.
Thank you very, very much, Jeremy, and to all of those people. God, Neil is everywhere. But thank you so much for this great change that landed in F42. I hope people are enjoying it. And we look forward to more of what this group can bring to Fedora Linux in the future.
Thank you.
With that, I will stop the recording, and thank you again for participating in this release's release party.
Thanks for having me.
No problem, our pleasure.
All right. So if you have any questions, oh, where am I? Here I am. How do I hide this? Boom. Okay. So thanks, Jeremy, for the virtual talk. You can also find him in the Matrix Room chat for the event, or additionally in the usual Fedora contribution spaces. So next up on the schedule, we have a update on the Anaconda installer. So this one is a very visible one. Folks have probably seen this one if you've done a fresh install on Fedora Linux 42, but the Anaconda the installer used to install Fedora Linux has gotten a lot of love in this release cycle. So I am going to go ahead and see if I can put this one up, and we'll go ahead and get started.
The Anaconda team, and I would like to present to you about new changes in Anaconda. I work in the Anaconda team as the engineer and product owner, and the first new interesting information about Fedora 42, but more like in Anaconda in general, is that we have a new logo. You can see it on the left side of this slide. And it's about 2 weeks we decided about this final variant, so I hope you like it. It's quite new. But that's not all. We have a lot of other changes in Fedora 42. So I will go through the list, and then I will go into details for these. So first, Anaconda is finally Wayland native application. Also, thanks to that, there were some impacts. And we are using, one of the impacts is we are using local D for keyboard layout switching, and we are using VNC RDP instead of VNC. Bit smaller change, but still significant one. The GPT is used by default for all the architectures. And the most interesting one, I would say, and I would like to spend most time on it, is we finally get Anaconda Web UI for Fedora Workstation in Fedora 42. So the first part, we are finally Wayland native application as the Anaconda. That was a huge change, and we wanted to do that for quite some time. Unfortunately, it wasn't a priority for us beforehand, and right now, and finally, it is now thanks to like it happened to be also a RHEL initiative for that. So we were able to make it as a priority, but mainly we were able to get also other teams to help us. Jose Exposito and the desktop team helped us a lot, and other people also. Thanks a lot for these, because we wouldn't be able to get it there in this time frame. It was a huge change, like multiple big pull requests to make this happen. So it's changing us as Wayland native, but it also had other impacts, and I would like to name two of them, at least two big ones. So one thing is we completely changed our keyboard switching layout, keyboard layout switching logic in Anaconda to use local D as the middle communication layer. The reason for that is before in the past, we basically used libxklavier library to when you select the keyboard layout in the Anaconda, we will also through the libxklavier select the layout into the running system. Unfortunately, this was broken for quite some time on Wayland already. So users were forced to set the layout in the Anaconda for the installed system, but also for the compositor in the compositor configuration. If you have them, if you don't have them synced and you are typing password, it could make your system unbootable in worst case scenarios. We changed that, and the reason for switching to local D, where it works in a level of Anaconda, user will select the keyboard layout in Anaconda. Anaconda will set this to local D, and compositor follows the local D dbus API and set that correctly to compositor. We require that because Wayland don't have a generic API for working with the layouts, with the keyboard layouts. So we need to create something like that to avoid having specific specific code for GNOME shell, KDE, XFC, etc., etc. XFC is not valent, sorry. So that would make our life quite hard. So we went with this solution where basically the environment owners on Fedora are responsible for creating some scripts or some middle layer, which will basically use the local configuration and set that appropriately to GNOME to the compositor. It's already enabled on KDE, already enabled on Sway, and we have a script to enable it on X11 spins. There are probably more. I don't know all of them from top of my head, and we have a workaround for a Workstation. Aside of this, there was another big change, which was switching from VNC to RDP for remote desktop, for remote interactive installations, graphical installations, and it's basically it works pretty much similar. Like the RDP is remote desktop protocol, and it's more secure, and I would say more modern than VNC. But mainly, VNC is built from X11 stack. So we had to basically drop all the dependencies on the stack, so we were not able to keep it. Aside of that, as I said, GPT for all the architectures. In Fedora 37, we switched x86-64 installations to GPT. And now we are switching all the others and making it default everywhere. You can still switch back to MBR. Hopefully you don't need that. I don't think there is much of the reasons for MBR these days. But if you have this requirement, you can use kernel boot option to set it back to MBR. This change was done by Vojta Trefny, who's not part of the Anaconda team, but he's closely cooperating. Thanks a lot for all the work you are doing. And the biggest one of all of the changes and the most interesting is to switch from GTK UI to Web UI. It's basically on the GTK UI we had before to a new web-based, cockpit-based, and using Patternfly UI, which is a new modern, is a modern UI, and it have like making a installation more accessible and better user experience. So I will show you the demo of how it looks like. Hopefully we will see it. Yeah. Okay. So this is the standard live ISO of the Fedora Workstation, and it's this web UI is visible only there. You won't find it on other spins, editions, or boot ISO. The reason for that is we want to start with small steps and based on the feedback we are getting. So please share your feedback. So I will start the installation. Just for information, if you followed some articles before about the web UI, you probably know about idea of having GNOME initial setup as the first step before you will get to live environment. Unfortunately, this this didn't make it into live ISO on Fedora 42. Hopefully, it will be later. There are still plans for that, so we will see. So as you can see, this is how the web UI looks like. And the biggest difference between the GTK UI and the web UI is that the GTK UI was a hub and spoke model, which means that you went into the configuration of something, keyboard or whatever, you configure your stuff and return back on the main hub. This solution is a standard wizard model. We switched to this one because we had a feedback that the hub and spoke might be confusing for people. So as you can see, it's basically the standard language selection where you can select the language as you want. And you also have a keyboard configuration, keyboard layout configuration here. Because of the local D change, as I said before, and not having time for adaptation, like adaptation didn't happen for Workstation, we find a workaround. I think the workaround is quite nice. Ideally we want to have similar selection as for the languages for the layouts, but currently if you click here, it will open you a GNOME Control Center where you can just add your layout. I will add a next layout to this one, and if I return back, it will show me an error, which is caused by the same issue when just one layout can be selected, can be added. The reason for that is we basically not able to tell you which one is used and which one is the preferred one for passwords, etc. So for that reason, we are not able to correctly install the system, and you can have a unbootable system. So I will continue. This is the most where we invested most of our resources, honestly. This is the installation method, and I'm also talking about it as the guided partitioning. In the GTK UI, you had automatic partitioning or custom partitioning. Automatic was quite simple in level of I can free up some partitions, and custom partitioning was, on the other hand, in level of you have to understand everything. You have to understand what btrfs is, etc., to be able to do the partitioning correctly. So in this trying to hit the middle ground where you don't, when you have multiple options, but you don't have to understand everything. So you can select the device, and as you can see, we are already saying you that there is already Fedora 42 installed on the disk, and it will allow you to select other installation options, installation methods. One of it, which is new one, is reinstall Fedora, and that will replace the current installation but keep your home partition, home data. Which means basically that, as you can see here, you will get to review screen, and as you can see here, it will remove some partitions and reformat btrfs subvolume for root, but it will just mount without reformatting the home partition. This is great for, like, I want to keep my home, but I want to reinstall the Fedora after like few updates, or I don't doing updates, or something like that. It has some limitations. It's just for Fedora and just for one system, but still, I think it's pretty useful, and we can improve that for future to cover more. And it will also tell you a warning that this will prevent the existing Fedora 42 from booting. So if I go back and I want to show you other paths. So the next one is share disk with other operation system, which, like, standard case for this is I have a Windows. I need to shrink it down inside the Windows because we don't understand this in Anaconda. And then I want to install next to the Windows. This is exactly for that. But if you don't have the space, as in my case, I don't have the free space on the disks because I have both of them occupied by the Fedora 42 installation, I can't uncheck the reclaim space. Otherwise, I could do that. So if I go here right now, I can, and as you can see, delete the partitions. I should be able to also shrink down. I'm not sure why not, but I can basically reclaim the space this way. Other than that, there's use entire disk, which is more like automatic partitioning, and it will remove everything on the disk and just install Fedora over the disk. It will allow you to encrypt the data as with the logs as expected. And the last one is also interesting. That's basically mount point assignment. We have it for some time already in Anaconda, but finally this is like better utilization of it, and it allows you to create the partitioning beforehand with any device, any tool of your selection of your choose, and you can just assign it for the installation here. So I want to have a btrfs root subvolume as a root here. I want to select boot FE as the FE and boot here. And if I want, I can create also a home and select btrfs home. subvolume here, and I can check that I want to reformat it because I don't want to have the data. So basically, you can install gparted or anything. You can even go here and go to software, install gparted in the live ISO directly, and do the partitioning. And if you want to, if you don't have an internet connection, or there's other way why you don't want to do it, or you just like cockpit storage, you can start cockpit storage editor directly here in this menu. It's a bit hidden in that top button because we want to make sure that people understand that this is not part of the workflow. It's still external editor, but given the technology stack of cockpit storage, which is the same for us, we can integrate it. But it still is editor, external editor, which if you're doing the changes, it will immediately do the changes to the storage. So basically, you can get here and you can shrink the partitions, you can mount them, you can get for details of them, etc., etc., etc. And the interesting thing, we are trying to help you with the hints here, with basically telling you what is required partitions and what size, what space you need for the installation. If I go back, it will tell me that my partitioning is not correct because I don't have a space for doing the installation, but I also don't have I don't have any mount points assigned. But I will continue back because I want to start the installation now as I install the Fedora. So I will check that I understand that some of my existing data will be erased, which is correct because the btrfs subvolume for root will be removed. So my configuration and etc. will be lost. And if I go to the install, you have the installation progress. Try to go into chapters so you still have like information about the whole situation, whole installation, but it will not lie you in level of the whole installation is in 20% because we don't have this information honestly. On the GTK UI, it's just guessing and it's switching, like it's skipping from 20 to 80 just fine and no issue with that. So this seems to me like giving you an even better overview. I will not wait for the installation because it will take some time. I don't have a time for that. But after this screen is done, you will see the thank you screen and the QR code. The QR code there is to providing us a feedback. So if you like it, if you don't like it, provide the feedback. If you like it, provide the feedback. We will be happy to hear anything about it. So please tell me what works and what didn't for the installer. I will switch back to the presentation. And hopefully you will see it soon. Yeah. So this is the demo, but that's not everything. We are not slowing down. We have a lot of changes before us for adopting other variants, improving the web UI, and other changes in general, not just about the web UI. So stay tuned. We are proposing Fedora changes quite often. So take a look on these before the release, and you should know what you should expect. Thank you a lot for your attendance. And if you have any questions, any feedback, please share it in the Matrix chat or in our Anaconda room on Matrix or discussion on GitHub. We are super happy to get your feedback. Thank you a lot. Bye.
Hey, folks. Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me. And so, all right, we're here to talk about what's next and what's new in the Fedora Atomic desktops. So I'm Timothée Ravier. I'm the primary maintainer for the Fedora Atomic desktops. So let's look at that. We'll start with what's new first. So the main thing that is cool for this release is that we have a new variant, the Cosmic Atomic one. It's using the fresh, brand new Cosmic desktop that got included in Fedora 42. And it's thanks a lot to Ryan Brew, who did all of the work to get this up and running, testing, and working on the Fedora infrastructure. So thank you very much for that. You can get it as all the other variants directly on the website. There's nothing different here. One of the major changes that we have for this release of Fedora 42 with the Fedora Atomic desktops is that we now have ComposeFS enabled by default. So you can find a few presentations around on the internet around ComposeFS and how this works, but the main idea is that behind ComposeFS is that you get the benefits of image-based systems without the downsides, without having fixed disk images and having to reserve space. And so this integration of ComposeFS right now, it's just the beginning. We're only getting started, and this version is the main change that you're going to see is that your boot partition is now truly read-only mount point, and you can't change it at all. And sometimes in the interface, you will see it as a full disk for the boot mount point because it is actually read-only full mount. But yeah, so the first step is getting us to better integrity guarantees, and in the future, when we will progress on the ComposeFS integration, you'll get more benefits around security parts. Unfortunately, with that change, there's one minor downside, is that the systemd remountfs logic is not working properly with it. It does not understand ComposeFS mounts yet, and so you might have this unit fail on your system, especially if you're using Btrfs with compression. So there's a few workarounds in the forum discussion thread to fix that. It's mostly benign, like nothing is going to break. You're just not having some Btrfs compression features enabled, but that's okay. We hope to fix that in the cycle, in this 42 cycles. So hopefully this is just minor inconveniences until we fix it. All right, as part of this change, as part of the move to ComposeFS, we also had to move to a static grub config. So this sounds scary maybe like that, but it's very much not something special. It's just that instead of regenerating the config every single time you do an update, we now only have a static file. The grub config itself, it doesn't change anymore. It's fixed, and that's it. And all of the new entries, all of the new version of the system, they are added using bootloader specification entries, so what they call BLS entries, and that are parsed by grubbed and then displayed on the boot menu. So yeah, it sounds scary, but nothing really much there. But it makes it nicer because it means that we don't have failures anymore on this base. The downside here is that we're still missing some bits of docs. So if you feel like writing some docs and helping us, they would be a great way to contribute and help us here. How to help people tweak a little bit of their settings, their grub configs, because now you should not do grub config regeneration live. There's only a few places where you can tweak the settings. All right, and after those three big changes, we have just two here small ones. The first one is that for folks that are not using US keyboard layout, you will be pleased to know that starting with 42, you can now install the system and type your Lux password, and it's going to work when you reboot. Because that was a big problem before. You had to make sure that you typed a password that was QWERTY compatible and then type it again as QWERTY. But no, it's no longer the case. Like Anaconda got fixed so that we're setting the right kernel arguments so that your passphrase, you can type your passphrase as you have entered it into the Anaconda installer. And the second one here on this page is that we're no longer building for PowerPC. all the atomic desktops. We stopped. We basically had very few, next to no users as far as the statistics we had. So we decided it wasn't worth the effort maintaining that. So we stopped the builds. But it's okay. Fedora, it's still producing RPMs for PowerPC. So if you still want to get an atomic desktop for PowerPC, you can build your own. Everything is still there. It's just not produced officially by the Fedora infra. Or you can take a look at the bootable containers, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. All right. So at the beginning here, I had a few slides about Silverblue, Kinoite, Sericera, Budgie, etc. But essentially, like nothing in those particularly changed. Like the only one that has, like, sure, you get new stuff. Like in Workstation, not in Workstation, in Silverblue, you get the same new things that got included in Workstation. So you get a new release of GNOME. In Kinoite, you get the new release of KDE, etc. So it's the same idea, but there's nothing specific to the atomic desktops here. We're just getting the same cool stuff as the rest of Fedora. What's very specific here for Budgie is that we moved it from GNOME software to Discover as the system Flatpak manager for the system. It's just to fix a small issue that we have in GNOME software that is very much Silverblue centered, and so it was rebasing systems from Budgie to Silverblue. And it's fixing with this. So yeah, if you're updating your Fedora Budgie Atomic desktop from 41 to 42, either do it via the command line, otherwise you will be switched to Silverblue. You can switch back after that, but it's just manual. All right, let's talk now a little bit more about things on the side, or the cool things that have been happening. So you might have heard that we are moving toward bootc, toward bootable containers, and for that we have several experimental things in progress. One of those is that I'm building an official bootable container images on the side. It's still like using official Fedora packages. It's on the Fedora GitLab, hopefully soon on Forjo, yeah, we're building those to get everybody starting on this path here as we move toward it. And so yeah, we still have issues in the ones that are in the Fedora infra. We're trying to get them built properly and tagged, etc., in the Fedora infra, but it's not there yet, unfortunately. I think it's been a few releases already that I've said that, but we're working on it. Hopefully, at some point in the future, that's going to get fixed. In the meantime, we have those images. They are properly tagged, and they are now signed with cosign, so you can actually verify them when you pull the images. And we now build also for AH64 architecture, so you have both architecture available. And one of the cool things with this project is that we are now also building experimental images for Fedora Asahi Remix. So the Fedora Asahi Remix, it's a remix of the Fedora project that is targeting the Apple Silicon platform. And so if you have an Apple Silicon, you can install Fedora Asahi Linux and get things working there. So here, this project here is building bootable container images for using the same packages that are included in Fedora Asahi Remix, but this time for the Atomic desktop. So you get Silverblue, Kinoite, etc. I think that's the only two that we use, and the base image for now. And you can try them out on Asahi. So it works. I have a laptop set it up with it set it up, but the installation path right now, it's a little bit manual. So you would have to try and doing things a little bit manually. It's not really fleshed out. We need help to work on this. So if you're interested in this, feel free to join us. And then we have a lot of friends working downstream of us. So we are kind of like the upstream with the bootable continuous projects. And the Universal Blue community, so the one working on Bluefin, Bassite, Aurora, they've rebased all of their variants on top of the latest version of Fedora that we released. And they did this like very close to release day, like on release day. So they were getting ready and they have everything set up. So this is great. You can look for their announcement on their Discord forum. And yeah, they're doing great work. They're doing great stuff around that. And do check them out if you have special hardware that they support out of the box, for example, some graphics card. All right, so that's for what's new in 42. Let's take a quick look at what's coming next in the next releases. This one will be fairly short, but like I've already talked a little bit about that. We're working around moving to bootable containers. So this is like the next major evolution for the Atomic desktops. It's a lot of work across many places, across many repos, changes, infra. There's plenty of stuff here moving forward to move forward. And yeah, we have a roadmap. We're trying to chip at it progressively. And yeah, this is progressing slowly but surely. And hopefully we'll get some things ready for this to be the prime time for the Atomic desktop soon. Another thing I would really like to make progress on is unifying the docs so that we have a single place for the docs instead of having one per variant and it being slightly the same but slightly different and slightly out of date differently. So ideally we would have a single place. That would be great. We haven't made progress in the last cycle on this effort, but hopefully we can get a little bit this going again for the next one. Again, here this is a great place you want to contribute. It's low code, easy to get started effort, and it has a huge impact because everybody is looking at those docs from time to time. All right, so yeah, as of today, it's a great place to contribute. You can get the full details of the release notes at this link. It's on the Fedora magazine. You'll find it hopefully fairly easily if you search for the Atomic desktops. And yeah, one thing I want to highlight is that I'll be at Flock this year, so next week, and I have a special talk about the Fedora Atomic desktops. Are we the default yet? And I'll be talking about that. And so if you want to have the crunchy, interesting bits, do make sure to attend next week. And yeah, feel free to reach out to me as well. All right, here's a few collection of links around us, where we are, where we hang out. You can find us in the Matrix channel. And of course, the Atomic desktop, they wouldn't exist if we didn't have the desktop sticks in Fedora. So thank you very much for all of the work that has been done in all of the desktop sticks in Fedora. And that's it for me. Thank you very much. Have a good rest of the Fedora release party.
Thanks, Timothy. Let's see if I can figure out how to roll you off and get Jonah on screen. So thanks for that update. I'm going to, oh, look, hi. Let's see if I can get Jonah on here. Hey.
Hello.
And I believe we have your slide deck ready, and you're going to be talking about an update on the Mentor Summit, right?
Yep.
So I will exit and give it.
Thank you. So hello, everyone. I'm excited to share a few updates today about the Fedora Mentor Summit. I'm Yona, and I'm part of the organizing team of the Fedora Mentor Summit, and I'm also part of the Fedora DI team, and I serve also as the DI advisor as part of the council. So let's share a few updates on the Mentor Summit. Okay, cool. So I'm really excited to share the work that we have been doing with the team for the Fedora Mentor Summit for this year, which will once again be part of the Flock to Fedora conference that is happening next week in Prague. And as some of you may already know, the goal of the Fedora Mentor Summit is basically to foster the culture of mentorship and to support the Fedora Project Council strategy on building a community where everyone has a mentor and everyone is a mentor. And also, as you know, mentorship, it's not just about helping new contributors get started, but it's also about creating this lasting connections and sharing the knowledge and growing together as a community. And of course, as a team, we hope to keep the mentorship fundamental part of Fedora's culture, something that we continue to practice, to value, and also improving it. So this year is the 4th edition of the Mentor Summit, and we try to evolve and improve things. And of course, this is, thanks to all the people that are involved, mentors, mentees, or contributors who basically care about growing the community that we have. So I will share in the beginning 3 main things that we are trying to do this year a bit more different. And the first one is the mentor-mentee lunch matching. So as I mentioned, mentorship has always been a very big part of what makes Fedora special. And this year we are adding the mentor-mentee lunch matching, something new, which will be a casual lunch matching session where mentors and mentees can meet face-to-face at Flock, and they can share stories, swap ideas, or connect over common goals that they have. This will happen on Thursday next week at 1 p.m., which is also the lunchtime. And how it works. So basically, in the beginning, we have paired people that they have signed up on the Fedora discussion thread that we have created. But in case someone will be at Flock and didn't sign up in advance, that's fine, because we will also have a spot for people that will be there. And as I said, the idea is pretty simple. You just enjoy some lunch and connect with other people that maybe you didn't have the chance to meet before in the community, but you all share the same passion for Fedora or mentorship and other topics. So there is no formal structure, just some, good food, great conversation. And in case someone isn't sure how to get the conversation going, we also have prepared some icebreaker prompts to help. And since we love Fedora badges, of course, that we will have also a badge for people that will participate in the lunch matching. You just need to take basically a group selfie during the lunch, and we will award the badge to you. The next one is the sticker match social networking. So we are bringing back a fun, easy way to meet new people in the community. And this will happen on Friday, on June 6th at 9 a.m. And how it works, basically you need to pick up a Fedora mascot sticker. I put some of them here, but we have different designs. And then you need to look for someone else that has the same Fedora sticker as you. And that's basically the signal to say hello and start a conversation with the other people that will participate there. It's super simple, but a new way to maybe also meet or talk to people that otherwise you wouldn't have met or talked to them during the conference. And the third one is the contributor recognition program. So basically with this program, most of it has already happened actually, and the aim of the program is to recognize the contributions of people in the Fedora community. Anyone could join and be part of it, whether it was coding, design, documentation, event organizing, and so on. We had a form that people could fill out, and they could, nominate someone else in the community to be part of it. And now is the voting phase, where the board, the people that are part of it, they are going through all the nominations that you all did, and the winners will be announced at Flock. So keep an eye on that. We will also have some article about the top 3 winners. And in case you want to see more how this program went or some more details, you have also the wiki page there. And as always, we also have a few presentations going on. We have Tosin that will share her story from mentor to mentee. talking about like building bridges in tech through community and mentorship. We have Sumantro, Akashdeep, and Aurelian. They will be sharing lessons and demos from the Mentor project. And last, we have also Nikita and Samyak that will dive into the power of open source mentorships, how it helps craft communities and grow future leaders. So before I wrap up, I also wanted to give a quick shout out to the team that have been working on the Mentor Summit. So thanks a lot to Akashdeep, Eduardo, Luis, Nikita, Spira, and Sumantro for all the work on this to make Mentor Summit happen. But also, it's also a celebration, basically, that of everything that makes Fedora special: mentorship, the collaboration, and the joy of building something all together. So that's all for me. It was like a quick update on what we have been working on. So thanks everyone, and hope to see you next week at FLOG.
Great. Thanks, Jonah. And it's going to take a second for me to transition out. But thanks again. And let's see if I can figure out how to use technology.
Thank you.
And I'm going to bring Aoife back, I think, right now, and see if she can do a local video for the pre-record. Oh, you're muted still.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
Okay, let me see. Can I figure this out? No, not that one. Want to add a new scene.
Hold, please. There we go.
What would it be? Video. Excuse me now while I'm doing this. It's a 4Geo. No.
I'll add some color. So next up is a pre-recorded session about a Git Forge update, which honestly I am kind of excited about because it's a new piece of technology, and I'm still reading up on all the discussions that happened to get the project to this point in terms of picking the next piece of infrastructure to build. Let's see. I'm not sure if Aoife's had any luck. We could possibly move forward on
today Akash and I
the
are
next
give
live. Oh no, dude, she's got it. I'm going to take myself off and we can do the 4Geo update.
Brief overview into where we are at and where we are heading in the 4Geo initiative, which is something that we've been working on for the last couple of months. So just for a little bit of background, late last year, early this year, the Fedora Council decided that we were going to move away from Pago, which was developed by the Fedora community many years ago, over to a open source, another open source forge called 4Geo. Yeah, the references are on there for the tickets. If you want to have a look at the background behind that, there was an investigation done to weigh up a handful of different forges, open core and open source, and it was settled that 4Geo was the way forward. So yeah, here's a couple other links here of the where we decided to move on towards 4Geo and from there. So and when we talk about migrating from Pago to 4Geo, we actually have two instances of Pago. One which is the dist-git, which is source.fedoraproject.org, and pago.io, which is the general purpose forge, which some people use for non-Fedora related things, and that we also use for Fedora-related things, notably ticket tracking. For example, the Fedora infrastructure team uses it for all their ticket tracking. So going forward, when we say moving to Forgio, both of these projects, both of these instances will be at this stage moving into the same version. It's still undecided, but it may be 2 instances of Forgio. It may be 1. We're still not 100% sure. But so we've decided to split up the implementation of Forgio into 2 phases. The first is we're going to focus on the Pago.io projects. And the big difference between Pago.io and this version of Forgio is that that it will be only for Fedora-related projects. So we have or Fedora adjacent. So if it's run by a SIG or a team in Fedora, then it will act on the Forge. Anyone else that's using Pago.io to host other projects, we encourage them to move to something like Codeberg, which is actually Forgio powered as well. So that's just a little thing going forward. So yeah, we're currently in phase 1, where we're looking at where we're to the point where we're migrating projects over from Pago.io, and then after that is done and launched, the next step of migrating all the dist-git or the source.fedoraproject.org web front end to Forgio will happen after that. So far, yeah, we've been working on the deployment of Forgio in Fedora OpenShift, in Fedora OpenShift, yeah, and the deployment, yeah, the link up there, codeberg.org Forgio deployment, is where we're currently tracking all our tickets on this initiative. We're focusing on a handful of different things at the moment. One is getting it running on OpenShift, which it's currently running on staging if you're willing to try it out, and support for Fedora messaging. So with all the, which is similar to what happened in Pago.io. We also have almost completed native migration from Pago. So you can, it will import all your tickets in with the same ticket numbers and include, we'll cover that a little bit later actually, and also have automated builds and deployments with the built-in through the built-in deployments, and currently also working on the RPM packaging of Forgio, and also theming and user experience enhancements to make it look Fedora-y. So okay, I'm going to pass on to Akash now to talk about the webhooks and the support for Fedora messaging.
Thanks, Ryan. All right, so webhooks happens to be one of the first things that we started working on, which related to making sure that it actually supports Fedora messaging. Forgio, like any other Git forge, supports webhooks, which makes it a prime candidate for it to actually send its events, like things like forks or pull requests or pushes, anything of that kind. Whenever it gets created, the stuff gets sent over as a webhook to Fedora messaging, and that ends up causing a message in the Fedora messaging bus, and that could be used for greater integrations with other services that we maintain inside of Fedora infrastructure. Just like Pagure used to support, we plan to have a similar feature parity when it comes to the Fedora messaging support. Then comes to migration. If you were around when we announced the GitLab shift, we also announced this little thing, which was a very GitForge agnostic tool called Pagure Exporter. This is a whole lot better for solution, because it is very specific to Forgio itself. All the migration process happens inside of the deployment, and that way all you have to do is visit that web front end click on the pick your option, provide the information of the repository that you want to transfer your issues, pull requests, repository contents from, and it's going to take care of it. You don't have to worry about the migration failing just because you have a bad internet connection. Take, for example. So yeah, this is something that is also available in the staging deployment. If you want to try it out, you would totally love seeing that. The next thing is automation. One of the key things that we wanted to keep in mind is making sure that we keep up with the upstream releases and making sure that the upstream releases have our changes applied on the top of them. And that way we are on the top of the changes. We are keeping up with the latest and greatest. It's one of our foundations first. And also making sure that it is very Fedora-y. We're making use of Conflux to make that happen. So we have our own fork of Forgio for our changes, sure, but we also make sure that the scheduled builds happen, and then there's a lot of sysadmining stuff because it's tricky to kind of mix our changes with theirs to make sure that everything play well with each other. So that is how we are looking into the deployment side of things. Then native packaging of Forgio as an RPM package. It is still a work in progress, but we do plan on making sure that we have rendered Golang dependencies and the node dependencies, and everything is in a neat RPM package so that even the Fedora version of Forgio, if someone wants to take it for a spin at their end, they can totally do so. Then finally, we have come around to the user experience. This is, of course, to make sure that our Forge actually has the identity of Fedora Project. It keeps up with the Fedora Project branding and the theming related changes, both in terms of the light mode and the dark mode, because sure, it's 2025. If it does not come out with a dark mode, it might as well not come out. So this is something that you can take it for a spin in the staging deployment. Then, yeah, that is what we have been working on so far. And we would be doing a whole lot more with your help. This is the chat room that we make use of for all of our conversations, planning. We do have our meetings after a couple of weeks for planning. Meetings for the discussions happen every single day that you can totally feel free to join, which is again in the same chat. We are a synchronous team. We are spread across different time zones, so totally feel free to drop right in, introduce yourselves, and if you're looking for something to work on, just let us know. We'll be glad to have you. And yeah, the staging environment that we have been talking about, that has all the progress that we have made so far. It could be a bit rough around the edges, but that's the link. Make use of your staging fast ID, not the production one, the staging one, to log into it and take it for a spin. And let us know of the changes that you want for us to introduce. Would totally be happy to make them happen. And yeah, that brings us to the end of the presentation. As always, thanks for hearing us out. Reach out to us if you have any questions, if you want to participate, or if you just want to hang around with us. We're a bunch of cool folks. All right. See ya.
Okay, that was a pre-recorded presentation on the Git Forge update, and we now need to find a way to transition.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jirka Konec.
Whoops. I'm going to bring...
I think that was me. Sorry.
Sorry.
You know what? I'm going to delete that because...
While Eva is working to get the last pre-recorded session, this one is on RISC-V and Fedora. While she's doing that, I was at Summit last week with Matthew, in fact, and we actually got to touch one of the newer pieces of RISC-V hardware, and we actually did some package install or package build test to see if it was going to be fast enough to be a builder for Fedora, on the road towards supporting RISC-V as a primary arch. And the newest, I forget which vendor that the hardware was from, but it seemed to be not the slowest builder in the collection of builders right now. So there is a path forward there. I think everyone's aware that it's a struggle to bring up architecture because hardware that you need isn't necessarily there. It's a chicken and egg problem, right? You need builders that are fast enough because you don't want to slow down the entire packaging work for the rest of the system. So it's good to see progress there. Where that's no longer going to be blocking, I think. So it's just a matter of upstreaming the regular work. So let's see. Check in with Aoife. Are we close? Hold on.
Maybe. Nearly there. It's uploaded. It's now just processing in the files. I deleted the other ones. So.
Okay, great. So I just had to fill airtime for a minute or so. So we actually did some builds. We tried the kernel. We didn't due to the networking issues at Summit. We didn't actually fully download all the build requirements. It took too long, but we did some smaller packages, and we were seeing build times in line with no slower than the power architecture that already exists, which is my understanding is the slowest builder in the set for primary arches. So there's a path forward there, and it's just going to be the regular work of bringing up a new architecture, which is always a lot of work, but seems to be going success. So we're going to transition now to Aoife's local video of the pre-recorded. Maybe. Are we? There we go.
Hi, everybody. My name is Aoife Maloney. I'm the Fedora Operations Architect, and I'm joined today with Jef Spaleta, who's going to be talking to you all about the work with Fedora and RISC-V that he's been working very diligently on, and I'm sure everybody is very, very impressed with what's been happening. Jef, I'll turn it over to you if you'd like to walk us through the work, what people can get access to now, what's next to come, and where we can all join you in the aftermath of how we can help getting involved.
Thank you, Aoife. So, hey, everyone. I'm Jef. As Aoife said, I work on enabling RISC-V across Fedora and CentOS Stream. So I only started about 2-ish months ago, and it's been a wild ride. So I'll give a rough overview. So this is the thing that you're looking at on the screen is a poster session that I presented like a couple of weeks ago at the RISC-V Summit, a European RISC-V Summit in Paris. So this is what I have here. So I don't have slides, but I'm not going to read all this text, obviously, but we'll just go through the highlights and discuss some of the work that's been going on. So at a high level, so Fedora has been chugging away at RISC-V work for over 8-9 years. Richard Jones from the Fedora community started the initial effort as a side project, and it's been going on for several years. And most recently, in the last couple of years, it has picked up more steam. And we have today Fedora 42 RISC-V images. They were released alongside the primary architecture images. I should emphasize that Fedora RISC-V images are not official images, obviously. They're community supported, and because RISC-V is not yet a primary architecture, but that's the goal, long-term goal. So that's the high-level idea there. And if you're wondering, like, what kind of things how things have improved or how we've ported software over over the last Fedora release, the last couple of Fedora releases, some data. So one of the ways to measure how we're doing is to look at the so-called unresolved dependencies. So what that is essentially we're looking at whether a given package and all its dependencies can be satisfied within the same repository. So that's the rough goal. And if you look at the screen here, we have about I did some numbers. If you look across Fedora 40, 41, and 42, the number of unresolved dependencies steadily decreased from 40 to 41, Fedora 40 to 41. There's a 44% reduction in the unresolved dependencies. And from 41 to 42, there's almost double that, which was during the Fedora 42 development cycle. So a lot of active work that has happened. And yeah, the other bit you see at the bottom of this section of porting progress, it's talking about a RISC-V profile, which is a RISC-V jargon term to mean ISA instruction set architecture. So RVA23 is the most recently frozen specification on which newer hardware can be built. So Fedora is built for what is called RV64GC, like all other major distributions. And we're looking forward to making the switch to RVA23. So that's future goodness. What else? There are many challenges. So we reported 99% of Fedora's packages work just fine. Are ported. They can be installed from upstream sources without any modifications. So, however, there's a selection, about 150 packages that still need some work to be fully ported to RISC-V. These are the high-hanging fruits, so to speak. So the compiler infrastructure project like LLVM, kernel needs some work, and many others. We have a Fedora RISC-V tracker in the references section here. So there you can see more details for those who are technically inclined and want to help with this. What else? So what if you don't have hardware? Not everybody has access to hardware. Some of it is more readily available depending on geography and so on. So there is still something you can do with emulation. The versatile QEMU project, that's the emulator project that you can use to run RISC-V images. So QEMU has a good RISC-V emulator. There's instructions how to get started on the Fedora wiki. We'll link to that. Fedora has two images, as you can see in this wall of text. One is a Fedora host generic, server host generic, and a cloud image. Both are not tied to any specific hardware, and they can be tested with QEMU if you want to test your favorite packages, file bugs, and so on. So that's the thing that you can do until you get access to hardware. So this diagram is just showing what would be familiar to many seasoned contributors in the Fedora system. But for those who are not familiar, this is roughly, Fedora has this core idea of upstream first, where all possible useful changes must be sent to the upstream. Corresponding upstream software should not maintain downstream specific patches. So that way it's less burdensome for us and Fedora to maintain, and it also benefits by sending changes back to upstream. It benefits everyone else as well. So that's the being the good open source citizen part. So this diagram is just showing the classic approach. Fedora works as closely as possible with upstream, sending patches. We've sent as many patches as we can to as many packages as we can to corresponding upstreams. So Fedora stays close to upstream, and from there CentOS stream pulls and downwards to RHEL. So that's the classic flow of changes. What else I've got here? yeah, what about future, right? So the end goal here, we want RISC-V to become as traditional and boring as other main architectures, in a good sense. RISC-V is not yet a primary architecture. There are still some challenges, as I noted. Data center grade hardware is one of the big challenges. We're waiting for hardware vendors to produce some of this high-end server grade software. RISC-V is well established in the embedded markets, but server grade is still picking up steam at the moment. So the RVA 23, the most recently frozen or ratified, if I have to use the jargon term, ratified specification, hardware that's built on this has improvements for virtualization workloads, mathematical intensive workloads, AI and ML workloads. So this is going to be interesting when this hardware lands. So keep an eye on that. So the path to the primary architecture, data center grade hardware, and of course we have to finish porting the rest of the outstanding packages to RISC-V, which is work in progress. Another thing is, of course, having a traditional RISC-V build system, so people can package their software and submit builds for Fedora, so they can easily test their changes and make sure the software works on RISC-V. So all this, the porting and the build system work can go in parallel while the hardware vendors are doing their part. So that's a sort of high-level view there. What else have we got? Yeah, and if you are interested technically, there are many ways to contribute. Come talk to us on the Fedora Metrics channel for RISC-V. It's here, and people are friendly. There's also a special interest group on the Fedora Discourse, so you can join there as well. And what else have we got? Yeah, there's some references here. We'll link to this one, and that's about it. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach us out on Fedora Metrics channel, and RISC-V work will be continued there, and we're looking forward for the hardware vendors to come up with some good high-end data center grade hardware. So that's about it. Aoife, do you think I missed anything else here?
No, it sounds like work has continued really, really strongly over the last months and probably years. And we look forward to having RISC-V as one of our primary architectures on the getfedora.org website. And thank you so much, Kashyap, and to everybody who's involved with this work with you as well, both across like the Fedora project, down through RHEL, and then to the various upstreams too. I know it is genuinely community effort.
Yes, absolutely. As you see in the abstract name there, Richard Jones is a longtime member. David Abdurrahmanu from Rivas Inc., a RISC-V company, as a startup. He's also been doing a lot of work on Fedora, and Andrea Bolognani as well. So special thanks to these and all the other contributors.
Thank you. And I know that there's a lot of in-depth reading as well belonging to this. There's a QR code, I think, down at the bottom if you wanted to highlight that as well for anybody who'd like to read more of this PDF themselves.
Yeah, so that's the QR code to get access to that one. And there's also an extended abstract that I wrote for the Paris Summit. So if those who are more technically minded, want to contribute and want to understand the lay of the land of what Fedora has been up to, so you can read this one and come back with some questions if you have. Reaches out on the Matrix channel.
Fabulous.
So, yeah.
Kashyap, thank you so much for presenting this, and again for all of the work that you do with RISC-V and Fedora. And we look forward to hearing more of this in the very, very near future.
Thank you for organizing, and yeah, thanks for running this.
No problem.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
From the Anaconda team. And
okay, so we are a couple of minutes ahead of schedule, it looks like. So let's take a 5-minute break, and then at the top of the hour, we'll come back and finish this up with our last 4 live sessions, starting off with a I guess it's, which one is it? The KDE? Yeah, the KDE Plasma 6 update. So let's all take 5 minutes, get some new coffee or do a bio break if you need, and we'll come back with the live sessions in about 5. Thanks. And we're back. Okay, so next up, and I apologize for potentially mispronouncing his name, is Onarop, and he's going to be talking about the KDE Plasma 6. Let me see if I can get him on the share with me. Here we go.
Hello.
That's him. Hey, I will take myself off and add your screen share, and we should be ready to go.
I edit, so I should be able to see it. Okay.
Yep. Here we go. Take it away.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. My name is Onralp for pronunciation. Soon, I'm from Fedora KDE SIG member, and we will talk about the newest and the greatest, at least for us, is the Fedora KDE Plasma Desktop Edition. A little bit about us. Basically, we are Fedora KDE special interest group that contributing and maintaining KDE packages. And basically working on as well Plasma desktop editions, mobile, and Fedora Kinoite. Basically, we try to provide high quality usable KDE software packages for Fedora user developers and support another in maintaining those packages. And also, we have a new website. And in case you're wondering, and that's our new website. If you want to visit us and check out all these goodies we have, you can see it in here. A little introduction to Fedora KDE is basically, as I mentioned, we are trying to maintain KDE desktop and Plasma desktop and all the packages. Basically, right now we become also a new edition with Fedora 42. Basically, amazing news for all the KDE SIG members who works very hard to bring it to the official edition. So it's also tailored for creators, developers, scientists, and gamers. And basically, we try to emphasize on simplicity and the power usage, however you enjoy it as well. So if you want to talk about the new KDE Plasma 6.3, basically, we have a couple of highlights, and it's still ongoing updates. What we can say, foremost, we have right now our current release is 6.3.4. But with the new version, we have come with Fedora 42. We have more enhanced drawing tablet configuration, improvable fractional scaling, advanced system monitoring tools, accurate color management with nightlight support in case you want to work in nighttime as well, which is very useful. And many others also coming along the way. Also, we are also now can run and compile on Fedora power systems, basically. Fedora KDE is also now expanding the power system architecture, and very much thanks to Dan Dorak, if I say his name pronunciation correct. He brings the enablement of the KDE stack support on power architecture. We have live images available for open power systems like Talos. It's basically community supporting, but best effort supporting. It is not a blocking release yet. Maybe in the future, if that's changed, at least we will see. Another news we have is basically around KDE is also emulations. As you guys know, many of you know that Fedora KDE also heavily working on in Asahi project. So for that reason, also we are getting more support on the x68 emulation on ARM devices. So this is also bring us more support on many different applications, specifically if you want to play some games or run some Windows applications as well, in case if you need it to. It's very also useful. We have more contributor coming to supporting in FAX, which is the emulation application. And it's also works with the ARM images, which is amazing to us. So another quick update is basically this is for also testers, beta users, and more about what's coming next as well, because we are continuously working on bringing more. Recently, Plasma 6.4 beta has been released. With that release, we're going to time-day daylight wall pairing, dynamic changing. Jinx Spectacle, which is our screenshot and video recording tool, also getting an overhaul. We will going to have the virtual desktop tiling per virtual desktop, which is if you are familiar with tiling and if you want to have more customization on your Windows control, that's pretty amazing. We also going to have the Aurora theme engine, which is better for Windows decoration and allowing you to more customization, which is going to be also pretty amazing. And then we have a small demo with a little surprise. I like to show it to you, so I have to change my screen share for a bit, just a little couple of minutes. If you excuse me. Let me stop screen share for a bit. Let me reshare. I hope I can share properly. I think for this purpose, I like to share my screen twice, share my entire desktop. That'll actually make it easier. Okay, hopefully it'll work. Just open it. Okay. So I just want to show what is coming. Okay. Hopefully it'll work. Is it coming? Okay.
There you go.
So so far until a long time, we have Fedora, KDE, and also around the GNOME has boxes. But with a new effort has started, and we're going to have hopefully a new virtual machine manager is based on KDE technology behind it with KDE framework and the application names Cartoon. It's still under heavy development, but I just want to show you the new Fedora 42 stable by default. Also like to share this moment with the new virtual manager along with the site to just showcase it's pretty much like working very in the basic status. Of course, there are still many work needs to be done, but at least I just want to show you a sneak peek what's coming in more. It's already in the Rawhide if you want to test it out and also help out the person who working on this in KDE team. I hope that will also resonate to you and gives you that enjoyment that you want to use your favorite window management and run your application in the native KDE nature as well. So let me stop my sharing as well and switch into last bit, then wrap up. So let me just do it quickly. Just a couple minutes. Okay. Here you go. Share. Okay. Hopefully. Okay. So before wrap it up, if you want to join us and get involved, you can introduce yourself on Matrix and say hi. You can help on to the KDE upstream project. You can help us out in the packaging. You can create your first issue on the Pagure. Of course, we are migrating, but once we are migrated, you can also open your request over there. You can also join the weekly KDE SIG meetings. And not for our list, if you want to find us, we are on the chat for the project KDE, and our mailing list also KDE@listfedoraproject.org. Other than that, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed these small updates from Plasma Desktop Edition. Thank you so much.
Thanks for the update. I'm going to hopefully successfully roll you off the screen. And next up is Matthias, who's going to give an update on the Fedora Workstation. Let's see if I can roll him on. There we go. Is the microphone working? I don't hear the microphone. That's unfortunate. Are you muted on your side? Yeah, we have sound in the interface, so I'm not sure what's going on. That is almost. Yep, gotcha. Okay. So I will take myself off screen and let you get on with the update. Thanks.
Yeah, minor technical difficulties, but we are off now. So I'm Matthias. I'm currently chairing the Workstation working group. So I was volunteered to give an update on what's new in Fedora Workstation in Fedora 42. So let's get to it. I'm a fonts guy at heart. I really care deeply about text rendering, so I'll start with this topic. We have new fonts, new default fonts in both the sans serif font and the monospace font have been replaced. And you can see here we have Advaita Sans, which is based on the very widely used Inter font by Anders Rasmussen. And the Advaita monospace is based on the Josefka font family. The GNOME design team has done a lot of work in evaluating various candidates for this before settling on these choices. And both of these fonts are a big step up in terms of coverage, in terms of features, and in terms of having an actually maintained font with an upstream where you can get fixes for issues. And I want to briefly show how these look. Here on the left, you can see Inter, and on the right, Josefka. I hope these fonts will serve us well for a long time. Moving on, next new feature I want to talk about is notifications. We've done some improvements to notifications and how they are presented over the last few releases. And in Fedora 42, we introduced stacking of notifications. And I have a little video that shows what this means. As you can see, the notifications here are grouped by application, and you can fold them in and out. And hopefully this makes notifications a little more manageable in the UI. Moving on, next we have an entirely new panel in our settings. And we all spend too much time in front of the screen, laptops or phones. And so this new panel is designed to help us maintain healthy computing habits and our digital well-being. If you go there, you can track the amount of time you spend on the screen, and you can also set limits for that, screen limits. And you can configure various reminders for taking breaks and moving around a little bit, just so you don't get stiff while sitting in front of your laptop. I will say that when I first tried this feature sometime during the 42 development, there were some issues with the screen tracking where it was just telling me that I was online 24/7, which is almost true, but not quite. But I hope it's all working fine now. Next new feature I want to mention is the image editor, Loop, that was introduced a few releases ago to replace EOG, has gained some simple image editing capabilities. It's not going to replace the GIMP, but if you just want to crop or rotate an image, it might just be good enough. And it's certainly a very convenient way to do these simple manipulations. You can see it in the screenshot, but Loop also has a new and more convenient zoom control that lets you easily zoom in and out and get back to your original scale. The next feature is one that I was personally surprised by. We do actually have a full-blown speech-to-text support in Fedora 42. You do not see it really a lot because it's hidden a bit too much in the keyboard panel. But I would encourage everybody to install the iBus speech-to-text package and just try it out. It is kind of amazing. I was really surprised to see how well it works. Beyond these bigger features that require their own screenshot, there's a few smaller things that I wanted to mention here. The first one is support for shortcuts in Orca. This is noteworthy because having support for shortcuts in the screen reader is one of those big remaining gaps in the Wayland accessibility story that people kept telling us about. And in Fedora 42, we've closed this gap, and hopefully there's now one less reason why people might be stuck using X11. Then there's battery health options, which is this feature that you probably know from your phone, where the battery stops charging at 80% to preserve its capacity. And now your laptop can do the same. And then there's this ongoing work to enable new hardware. In this case, Hans de Goede has continued working on support for MIPI cameras, which are increasingly common in modern laptops. So that's a good thing to have working out of the box. And Before closing out, I need to mention a few features here that I described here as minor triumphs. The first is triple buffering support in the compositor and Matter. This is a patch set that has been shepherded by Canonical's Daniel van Vogt for more than 5 years. And it's very nice to see it finally landed in upstream Matter and then also in Fedora. This is mainly a performance-focused thing. It really helps the smoothness of the compositor, in particular when there's sudden bursts of activity. So I hope it improves your experience. The other feature to mention here is a minor triumph is that we now have HDR and color management support. The color management protocol, the Wayland protocol, was in the works for almost a decade and is the work of multiple people. But I want to particularly mention Pekka Paalanen of Collabora here and Sebastian Wick from the Red Hat desktop team, who have finally managed to get this over the finish line. And you can now enjoy HDR in your desktop. And with that, I close out by saying that the Fedora Workstation Working Group is always happy for new members. So if you're interested in participating and trying to figure out what we should do for Fedora 43, please feel free to join us in our Matrix Room or in our weekly team meetings that happen Tuesdays at 11 a.m. And that's all I had to present today. So thank you all for listening.
Thanks a lot for that update. We're running ahead of schedule, but that's okay. Let me slide you off the stage, and I'm going to bring Madeline on stage here with me. Hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yay. The microphone works. Okay, so I'm going to slide your presentation on screen with us, and you're going to be talking about Fedora design or Fedora 42 design. And I will hide myself, and you can take it away.
Okay, thanks so much, Jeff. All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for tuning in to this amazing Fedora release party. I never get sick of them. So I'm Madeline Peck, if you don't know me. I'm one of the UX designers behind the Fedora design team. And so today we're going to be obviously talking about what we have here on the screen in its wondrous daytime version. So we've got it in the night, and it's always fun and satisfying to go kind of back and forth. It's a little cropped. There's some mushrooms in the bottom right hand corner that you don't get to see, but that's because, we have to make it a little more square-like because there's a wide range of monitors, and we try to take those into consideration. So how did we get here? And how can you be a part of it? The ticket for the wallpapers are always on GitLab, and anyone is more than welcome to contribute. Obviously, we're going to be moving to 4.0 soon, but you can definitely find it when we're on there. It's just under the Fedora design tab, so hopefully it'll still be easy to find. And if you have any questions, feel free to message me after the release party or message on the ticket. I've had people even find the specific discussions post and ask questions. I'm always down to chat about it. So the very first step for the wallpaper is to find the inspiration behind it. We typically associate each wallpaper with a letter in the alphabet just to give us some sort of structure. And then we pick a group of people in STEM throughout history, science, mathematics, physicians, and we choose a group of people who have the last name associated with the letter that we're on. So right now I'm working ahead of schedule on Fedora 43, and we chose a bunch of people with the last name that starts with R. So we chose Sally Ride for 43, but for 42, it was probably one of the most difficult letters, Q. So that made it extra special because there are not many people with Q even in their name. So we thought about it, and we ended up making the poll that you see on the screen, and we chose between Quest, the Latin phrase quod erat demonstratum, Selina Quintanilla, and Al-Kishi. We obviously ended up choosing Quest, but I think that you can argue your point for each person. And I mean, for me, Quest, like I put in the poll, I always try to kind of illuminate where I'm coming from with each suggestion because I mean, the poll is usually open to the whole Fedora community. And so you want to make sure that you're not having a suggestion that's too far out of left field. So, a quest, a long search for something, just like how we are constantly on the search to share and improve open source. So that was my first choice, although I did like the Latin phrase, but obviously we ended up with Quest. So we sat down in a design meeting and we made a mind map to brainstorm what visuals we associate with the word. I would say that most quests involve nature of some sort. So, we pulled a lot of visuals of like grand sweeping landscapes to make like a beautiful wallpaper, because I mean, that's the other thing that you want to take into consideration with these is that you don't want them to be too busy. You don't want them to be too irritating on the eyes. Like basically those like, you don't want it to look like TV static where like if you look at it and then you look away, it like stays in your mind and really like irritates your eyes. You want it to be just like a calm backdrop for all your files to be placed amongst. So we had a lot of different options. We talked about video games like Mario to Legend of Zelda, where the main character is on their quests to save their princesses. For me, it also conjured up a lot of Lord of the Rings discussion, which I was like, it's just like open source. I was like, it's a team working together in different parts of the world to achieve a common good. So it definitely had this idea that like we were going to have a wonderful landscape with some type of path and like maybe a bridge. And that was how we were going to nod to the quest part. Since they typically happen in nature, I wanted to expand on that even further, and I kind of thought back to the Art Nouveau movement, which is, quote, inspired by the sinuous curves of plants and flowers. So, like, for example, this version in the bottom and this version with the Lord of the Rings, I actually hope that you guys can see my cursor. If not, we'll just have to hope that you know what that I'm referring to. But really taking in the idea of like a really calm, cool color palette. And yeah, that's how we got the inspiration for that. And this was the first sketch that I made. Obviously, in different Fedora wallpapers, sometimes we have like a handful of designers contributing different ideas at a time. During this release, I was the only one making artwork for it, and that was just because people who typically contribute either had other things on their plates, but like sometimes we have like 5 options to choose between, and it just happened that this time I was the only one. So this is what I came up with. I didn't love it. I was like, this has got good bones, definitely. And so then I kind of kept playing around with it on Krita, and you can kind of go back and forth and see how similar it is, but how different. Before, I felt like it was getting a little muddy, and in the new one, I felt like it was much more serene, kind of like the color palette that we had been talking about. And yeah, I think that Krita is just one of my favorite open source programs that I like to use for the wallpapers, because it has just a really great wide variety of brushes. And if you haven't used it before, I recommend it wholeheartedly. But obviously this is not what the wallpaper turned out to be, because the wallpaper has some Easter eggs. So I saw a lot of people around the Fedora community being like, what is this? What, like, can someone fill me in? And so when we were at this point in the release, I have wonderful Matthew Miller as my manager right now. And so Matthew and I were talking about, this is Fedora 42. Like 42 is a pretty well-known number in a lot of spaces, especially if you've ever read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which I have. I'm a big fan of it, and so had Matthew. And so we were like, should we like put some Easter eggs in there? And if you guys haven't read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, it's a book by Douglas Adams. It's a sci-fi comedy series, and the main group of characters encounters a supercomputer that has like been calculating for hundreds and hundreds of years, like what the answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything. And it's come out with the answer that the answer is 42. And so we were like, okay, that's like, we could fit that in somewhere. I mean, it's a pretty like nature inspired scene. So I was like, maybe I could include 42 flowers, 42 mushrooms, like, and then it would be like a counting thing. Although that was like very, you'd have to really be looking for it. So since my dad was a big fan of the series, he was like, well, you know, they have the idea that like the series suggests that 42 is the question to what do you get if you multiply 6 by 9, even though 6 by 9 is 54. But apparently in base 13, the number expressed as 42 is equal to that equation. If you know base 13, I guess. I had to like double check that when I was doing the research for this. So that's why in the grooves of the tree, you can see the 6 by 9 equals 42. It's supposed to make you think, check your math. But, oop, got ahead of myself. And then I also decided just to include the whale in the clouds in the sky, because in the opening of the first book, you have this supercomputer is kind of generating random things throughout the universe, and it generates a whale that falls through the sky, and as it gains consciousness for its very brief period. And so I thought like that was always really funny to me when I was reading the book. And I'm just seeing everyone's chats about how it's the base 13 theory is false. Yeah, I think that it's really interesting no matter what, and honestly just very funny. So, but with the whale, I thought that we could have the clouds of the whale. I think a lot of monitors cropped the whale, so hopefully next time I can put some preference on if I want the top or the bottom cropped. Because yeah, obviously it's really hard to also see in the nighttime version. So completely understand if you guys completely missed it. But yeah, so that is kind of the entire process of how the Fedora 42 wallpaper was made. And I think I completely sped through that. I know that we were already ahead of schedule, so we're just like even more on schedule, ahead of schedule. But I don't know if there's any questions or if we want to just move on to the next speaker. I am open to whatever. Welcome back, Jef.
Thanks. I don't have any questions, but I did miss the whale. I'm now noticing it on my monitor. Yeah, I'm now noticing it. But when I first looked at it, I saw the 42 reference staring out at me, but I did not catch the whale, and now I'm super excited about it. Now I'm like, why isn't there some petunia on screen as well? But
yeah, next time we'll need even more.
Well, I guess 42 is obvious in jokes with the book. I don't know what 43 gets us, but
yeah, I don't know if there'll be another option to have as many Easter eggs, but I look forward to someone suggesting it one day.
Yeah, I am looking forward to getting my towel next week.
Yes, same.
Yeah. Okay. I think even though we're ahead of time, I think that's fine. Everyone can get 30 minutes back. But thanks for sharing the design process, and I will now roll you off. Thanks very much.
Thanks.
And I'm going to roll Ryan on. Let's.
All right. Should I do
he's
a
not showing
mic
his
test?
camera, but
yeah. Do I sound good?
Yes, your mic is working, so we're all good.
Great,
Ryan's going to be talking about the Fedora Cosmic Spin, and I'm going to roll on your presentation and roll myself off. So take it away, Ryan.
All right, sounds good. Thank you. So hi guys, I'm Ryan Brew. Please be nice to me because last night I was hit with a nasty cold and I'm not feeling the best, but I'm powering through anyways because it's good to be here. Just a little bit about me. I'm a software engineer. I graduated from college last year with my computer science degree. I started using Linux in late 2023, so I'm kind of a newcomer relatively. And I've been involved in Cosmic upstream, and I maintain the Fedora Cosmic spin. So what is Cosmic for those of you who have been living under a rock? Oh, I'm already getting messages. Give me just a sec. Okay. What is Cosmic? It's a desktop environment written in Rust. It's made primarily by System76, which they make the distro Pop! OS, and they make computer hardware like laptops and desktops. And like a lot of things in Linux, Cosmic is an acronym. It stands for Computer Operating System Main Interface Components. What does Cosmic look like? It can look like many things. Customization is kind of at the forefront of Cosmic. So we have, for example, right here, we have a bottom bar. We have an accent color of yellow. We have a bunch of applications here. You can change around your panel configuration, so you can make it look like Ubuntu, for example. You can also have windows tiled instead of floating. You can choose a myriad of accent colors. This is an example of what the workspace overview looks like and the default panel configuration, which has like a top bar up here and then apps at the bottom. What makes Cosmic interesting, though? I think probably the biggest sell is that it's got a first-class tiling experience in a full-fledged desktop environment. That's not something we see very often. There are window managers like Sway and i3 and stuff like that provide a good tiling experience, but they don't have the desktop environment component behind it. They don't have a suite of apps. They don't have the panels. Everything else is just kind of secondary to them. So I think that's something that entices a lot of users of Cosmic. It's also got a great floating window experience. I personally use the floating window setup a lot more than tiling, so it's great for floating window enjoyers as well. What's great, another thing great about Cosmic, I mentioned this earlier, but customization is at the forefront. I like to put it kind of in the middle between GNOME and KDE's customization levels. It's got more customization than GNOME, but it's not going to overwhelm you like KDE might. So it's also great for users who publish dot files because everything is in one configuration directory. That's something that KDE, for example, doesn't do. They just kind of throw configs everywhere. So I like that everything is self-contained. It's built on the newest Linux stack. So because it's a new desktop environment, there's no X11. We're only supporting everything that's new. That means that there's no legacy code base to port over, which is pretty nice because GNOME and KDE kind of have to play catch up sometimes with removing legacy stuff and trying to support new stuff as well. And then one thing I really like about Cosmic is that they're supporting the Rust Linux ecosystem. They have a lot of different various projects that work great on Linux. They have a project called Cosmic Text that's like text rendering for Rust, and that works great on Linux, of course. They have desktop entry parsing in Rust. They have compositor development in Rust with their Smithy library. And then they have a graphical toolkit called libcosmic that's made entirely in Rust. So I'm personally a huge fan of Rust, and that's one of the big things I can get behind with Cosmic. All right, now let's talk about Fedora and Cosmic. So I actually did a talk here a year ago for the Fedora 40 release party, and here's where we were at that time. We had packages that were approved in Rawhide, but it was really just the compositor and I think maybe the applets package. We weren't done with getting all of the packages approved. And then there's a bunch of other stuff we had to do in order to get a full spin in place. But now we're basically done with everything. We have a spin, we have an atomic spin or an atomic variant. We have the whole 9 yards. So here's the links to where you can get the Cosmic Spin and the atomic variant. I'm going to release these slides in the chat in a bit. And then over here, I have a nice fast fetch, of course, of Fedora on Cosmic. For Fedora Cosmic 42 specifically, the ISOs are based on Alpha 6. I recommend as soon as you install to upgrade, because Alpha 7 is now out and has a lot of different fixes, a lot of new features. I believe there's stuff like workspace pinning, a lot of bug fixes. Everything just keeps getting better. And since the project's still in alpha, upgrade as soon as you can. For the adventurous bunch like me, I personally run the nightly packages. So this used to be the only way to get Cosmic packages. Now it's the unofficial Git repo, or like, Git variants of packages. If you like running nightly packages, then go ahead and use this copper. But I think that the tag releases have become a lot more stable. So I would actually recommend for most people just sticking with the upstream packages. But if you like having the bleeding edge, if you want to help test things, then go ahead and use the copper. So what's next? So there's a Cosmic beta coming up in general release. That's something that System 76 is working very hard at getting done. Fedora on our end will get every tagged update up until release and beyond. So just stay tuned for the beta release coming like probably in the next couple months. But yeah, if you follow their project boards, they have a Kanban board of like what's left to be done before beta and release. So they're working hard on getting all of those stuff knocked out. Here's some various to-dos, some of them Fedora specific. What I would like to see in our spin is eventually having Fedora colors and the accent color customizations. Currently, we just have the upstream colors to choose from. I would like to get more Fedora branding into the spin. So that's something that we need upstream's help with, is being able to customize on a distribution level what accent colors show up in the settings. I want more Fedora specific defaults for Cosmic. I want some options for panel configurations. So that may come in the form of like a separate utility that lets you change from a couple of set defaults, or maybe upstream will have a solution for that. There's a couple of defaults that I think are a little more sane that we don't currently have, such as window snapping. Currently, the default is to not snap windows to the edges. That's just an example of one of the things that I think should be default. We're going to have an initial setup experience. There's a work in progress Cosmic repository for initial setup. We're going to retrofit that to Fedora. And then one of the things I personally want to see, because we're including Qt applications in Cosmic, or in the spin, I'd like to see Qt theming for Cosmic applications, because currently it looks kind of rough around the edges. The default Qt theme is not really pretty. Here's where to report issues. I know a lot of you guys are probably using Cosmic and testing it out. The first place to report for Fedora is the Red Hat Bugzilla. If we deem that it's an upstream issue, the next place to go would be the Cosmic Epoch repository, or Epic, I don't know. But it's recommended to report issues downstream first. If you just have like a one-off question or like how to do something, make sure to check out our Matrix chat. I'll also include this link in a later slide so that you guys can join. Oh, we have a question here. For window snapping, should the upstream default also be changed? It does seem like a reasonable default. It's something I'd have to talk with the System 76 team about. At the moment, I think they decided to keep it off by default, but I think they're very open to discussion. It's, the upstream team is very nice and willing to work with all parties to figure out the best defaults for the desktop environment. Anyway, here's how we get involved. The Matrix chat is our primary form of communication. You can even just come in to alert. You don't even have to get involved. A lot of people are on there, and we just kind of talk about Cosmic and Fedora and how to make things work together. The upstream chat is chat.popos.org. This is where you can talk with the upstream developers They're very nice. They won't bite. If you have any questions or like if you want to contribute like PRs to them, this is a good place to go. And then if you want to check out the project Kanban board that I mentioned earlier, this is the link to do that. This is where all of the remaining work is for like general release. So if you want to contribute in that way, just look for an issue and let the developers know you're working on it, and they can help out. We're always looking for contributors on the Fedora end, especially people with packaging experience or generally knowledgeable about Linux. Like I said earlier, I'm relatively new to Linux, so whenever we hear about issues like with SE Linux, for example, or like the greeter is having issues with PAM configurations, like I kind of just, my eyes glaze over. I'm like, okay, I can try to figure this out, but I have no idea where to start. So if there are people with general Linux knowledge that would like to help out, that's one of the things that we're always looking for. And that's my last slide. So I'll leave it to either questions or whatever we're going to do next. Thank you, guys.
Great. So I think that's it. If there are questions in the Matrix channel, you can probably answer them there. I don't think we're going to do pull questions out. Okay. So I think that's it. Thank you, Ryan. I'm going to take you off the stream. And now it's just me, the Jef PL. I think that's it for our release day programming. I don't have any final thoughts other than this was my first virtual release party, and I'm happy to have had a chance to moderate and introduce myself to you. I look forward to seeing some of you for the first time in person next week at Flock, and I will be around the Matrix channels and in the discussion forum. You're going to see me talking a lot more in a couple of weeks after Flock. But I think I'll leave it there. It's been a great three hours, and yeah, see you at Flock, everybody. This party is over.